Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the September 9th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. Mrs. Lloyd, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestria.
Present.
Mr. DeJohn. Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Minor.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Ms. Tobin.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next will be the approval of the minutes from the June 24th council meeting. I hope everyone's had time to read those minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes have been approved as written.
Madam Chairman, I have a question.
Ms. Tobin.
In the minutes, there was going to be some follow-up, and I don't know if we got the answer from Mr. Thomas about the building code for drive-through establishments allowing scooters and bikes. Do we know the answer to that?
I don't know.
No? Okay.
We'll have to check
Still
with
need
them.
to find out.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Braden and Scooter, I'll make a note. Thank you. All right. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements this evening? Ms. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Chagrin River Watershed Partnership will meet September 17th at 4 p.m. at the Lakeland Community College in the North Building. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to reports of officers, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Just a couple things. I want to thank the police, fire, and service departments for all their hard work this summer on all of our events. The last one being the First Responders Night, which had over 400 people there, so that was a nice turnout. And yeah, just a shout out to those three departments for just really pitching in whenever we have an event and pulling it off. They do a great job. We also had the car show. Over 100 cars were registered. We want to thank the Winking Lizard for that event. And the community garage sale was this past weekend. Weather wasn't optimal, but it went on. So I hope everybody had a chance to visit those garage sales. One note on the Parks and Rec schedule coming up. So September 28th, we are having a pig roast at the ACC, and I just wanted to let everybody know, right now, we're getting a lot of positive response on it, that a lot of people would, plan on attending, but we're not getting a lot of ticket sales. So unless we have a few more ticket sales, we might not be able to do that event this year. So just encourage anybody who has interest to please purchase tickets. And I'm sure Don will talk more about that in his report for Parks and Recreation. And then lastly, I know there's a lot of residents here concerning the flooding. On our agenda, we have two resolutions, and they are the two steps we need to take to continue and to address this problem. So what you're going to see on tonight's agenda is the detailed dye testing, which is needed. It's $165,500 is on that resolution. And then the second one is to actually engage GPD to begin the design process, which the sooner we get that design, the sooner we can begin on the sewer and the sewers, I should say, sanitary and storm. And there was also a suggestion to replace the water line, which we may do also on there. But those are the two things that need to happen first. Council will vote on those. Once that design is done, it's going to go out for bid. Once the bidding process is done, the project will start. So you will see more resolutions at future council meetings to approve, what company is going to do it and approve the bid. So we are starting that process tonight. I believe council's going to, is in favor of that. Everyone I've kind of talked to a little bit is. So that's going to begin our process. So I know it's very, very frustrating for everyone, but we're starting down the road to fix it. So just wanted everybody to know that. And that's it. That's all I got tonight.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor?
I have one.
Ms. Talbin?
Yeah, Mayor, could you give us an update on the median? Are we still putting flowers or doing something to beautify that area?
Planters, which we've been looking at for planters, and we haven't come up with what we really want. So we want to come up with something that's sturdy, something that's nice looking, not too expensive, hopefully, but that's still in the plans, yeah.
Do we have a timeline?
We're not going to plant them this year, that's for sure. So,
Okay.
yeah, probably be in spring.
No Christmas trees, huh?
No. Oh, we could put a Christmas tree up there, because we have done that in the past.
We have an electrical outlet that's supposed to
Right.
be working there.
Yep, we have done that in the past.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, moving to the Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no formal report tonight, but I would remind council that you've been furnished with 3 resolutions that the administration is requesting be added to the agenda this evening, 48, 49, and 50. So don't forget about them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay. We have to wait.
It's just
You have- Yeah, during public portion, you can come up, okay? And then Director of Finance, Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The budget process for 2025 has begun. The departments are working through their items and are anticipated to complete them by September 27th. We will compile them together, and the goal is to have the budget to council for the first meeting in November. There are 2 items before you tonight in regards to our property taxes for 2025, which come before council annually. The first is participating in the county's tax advance program to collect the monies more than twice a year. And the second is approving the property tax rates presented from the county. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Scully? Okay. Seeing none, we will now move on to our reports, commissions, committees, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee. Mr. DeJohn, he is absent this evening, so we'll move to the member, which is Mr. Mano.
I have no report, Madam Chairman.
Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have a report this evening.
Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Public Works and Service, Mr. Balestrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a report. The Public Works and Services Committee met on June the 12th and August the 7th over the summer. Council was now copied on both of those meetings, and as a result of those meetings, we have the 2 resolutions to be added to the agenda tonight, as stated by the mayor. I would just like to add that I have this evening a form. This is from the county auditor. A number of council members have researched this, and this is for folks that have had substantial damage, and flooding is included to their property. This is to be filled out, sent to the fiscal officer, Cuyahoga County Auditor downtown. And what this form does is it allows you to get some relief on your property taxes if you've had substantial damage due to flooding. I'm just using flooding because that's what you're most concerned about. I'm going to have these forms available after the council meeting. The deputy clerk will make more copies if necessary. You fill them out. You have to estimate as to what amount of damage you've sustained. I know folks were throwing out a lot of different numbers. And then They have a deadline by the end of the year to get this into the county, and they could adjust your taxes based on the damages that you've received. So there is some relief from the county. I'll make that available to you after the meeting. Just see the deputy clerk, and we'll get you a copy of this. Okay? And if you have any questions, we'll take them up during the public portion. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to state that out of the Committee of the Whole meeting, I had requested that the Public Works and Service Committee have a meeting before tonight. That didn't happen, but I will tell you that our engineer did speak with the committee chairs and the co-chair to go over what I would have liked to have had happen in this meeting. So we did have some resolution. I just want to let everybody know, because I requested that at the last meeting and it didn't happen. So, all right, Recreation and Parks Committee, Don Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Park and Recreation Department had a great summer, from opening the new aquatic center for a whole season to running our popular day and teen camps to Unity Days, the car show, and ending with the garage sale and everything in between. It was a busy summer. As we head into fall, we are looking forward to our new event, Hog and Hops, our pig roast and beer fest on September 28th. As the mayor said, ticket sales are kind of lagging at this point, and there's going to be a deadline date that if we do not get enough ticket sales, we'll have to postpone the event. The adult pickleball indoor play is getting started this month. Youth programs coming up include our new girls volleyball league, the always popular LBJ, excuse me, and WLBJ basketball programs, and several rookie sport programs. Visit the website and follow our social media for more information on all these programs and more. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Are there any questions? Safety and Transportation, Ms. Telbin.
We had no reason to meet, so there's no report.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Cepeda.
Thank you, Madam President. The BZA was on recess July and August, and there's no meeting tomorrow due to no applicants. We welcome new member Adam Eisenberg, and ordinance 2024-15 is on the agenda for council consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Cepeda? Okay. Moving to Planning Commission, Mr. Balistreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are also recessed for the summer. We have not met yet, so I have no report.
Thank you. At this time, are there any reports of any department directors that are here this evening? Okay. We will now move to comments from the public. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item this evening, this is your opportunity to address council. However, please note that this is not an opportunity for debate or slighted comments. If you would like to be heard this evening, please fill out a form located at the public entrance. During the public portion, I will call each person wishing to speak to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record. It is now 7:15, and I will open up the public portion. Can I please have Teresa DeJohn? Hit the little button, make it green. There you go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Teresa DeJohn. My address is 1541 Algiers Drive. I'm Councilman DeJohn's daughter, as I'm sure most of you know. My dad has retired along with my mom and moved to Texas. So he's asked me to read a letter. Unfortunately, he'll be resigning from council because of the move, and wanted to address the residents of the city as well. Mayfield Heights residents, it is with a heavy heart that I announce my resignation from Mayfield Heights City Council effective immediately. My wife and I have made the difficult decision to relocate out of state to be closer to my son and his family. It has been an honor to serve the constituents of this great city for the last 10-plus years. The last name Dijon and Mayfield Heights have been intertwined for the last 72 years. This started when my father, Ross C. Dijon, moved to the city in 1952. He was elected to council in 1962 and mayor in 1964 before retiring from office in 1993. He is the longest-serving mayor in the history of the city and oversaw unprecedented growth that put Mayfield Heights at the top of the list of East Side Cleveland suburbs. I'd be remiss if I didn't say how much it pains me that the promise was not kept to put my dad's name on the new community center after his many years of service to the city. I aspired to be like my dad by putting the constituents first and continuously keeping your best interests in mind. In the next 45 days, the council will get the opportunity to interview and appoint a person to fill the rest of my unexpired term, 1.5 years. I am recommending to the council that Gail Teresi fill my seat for the remainder of the term. Gail has over 15 years of experience on Mayfield Heights City Council and served the constituents diligently. There is no one who understands the city better and the issues at hand. Gail has my full endorsement and is truly the best candidate for the position. I want to thank the residents of Mayfield Heights for giving me the great opportunity to represent you as a member of the Mayfield Heights City Council. I will miss my daily interactions with you, excuse me, and listening to the things you cared about the most. My one ask is that you continue to pay attention to the decisions that are being made on your behalf. If there is something that you disagree with, please speak up. Always remember that the mayor and the city council represent you and your opinions matter. Once again, thank you for your support these past 10-plus years. I will watch from afar and wish nothing but the best for this great city and its residents. While I am no longer on council, that does not mean we can't stay in touch. Please feel free to reach out if you need anything or just want to catch up. Once again, I wish you nothing but the very best, and God bless you all. Respectfully, Councilman Bob Dijon.
Thank you, Teresa.
He brought copies for you guys. I don't know if you want to.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, definitely.
Judy Amsel.
Thank you. My name is Judy Amsel. I live at 1628 Rose Lawn.
Ms. Amsel, just talk closer into the mic if you can. Yeah,
Move it up
perfect.
here. Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay. 1628 Rose Lawn. I've lived in Mayfield Heights since August 1971, which is 53 years, and I'm 83 years old, which does have something to do with what I'm going to be talking about today. If any of you noticed, there are streets here named Summit, Mayfield Ridge, and Crestwood. There's a reason those streets have those names. We happen to live, if you ever go by your house, there's a cement post on the north side, and the next neighbor has a cement post on the south side. There used to be a chain fence there. It was a swamp. These streets are, and in front of my house happens to be where the locations of the watersheds for the Chagrin River and Euclid Creek get together. And they get up there on the top of this, and then they decide where they're going to go. And they sit around for a while and flood the yards, and then they leave and go one way or the other. The people who built our house did a wonderful job. We don't get water in our basement. This year, with all the rain and all the hot weather, plants grew a lot more than they usually do. And at 94 years old, I'm not yet, 83 years old, I'm not going to go out and try to pick weeds and everything else. It's just not, it's too dangerous. So the yard got a bit out of control this year, and we weren't able to get in to do it. And we got cited for it. And they came in last week and had to get rid of I don't know when these laws started, but you're not allowed to have anything more than 6 inches tall between the sidewalk and the house. Part of that is so you'll be able to see traffic coming through anybody on the sidewalk. And beyond that, it's not supposed to be more than 24 inches. They told us just to just take the stuff out and just put on stones in that area. If you know anything about landscaping, stones and grass do not help. In order to stop the flooding, you have to have roots in the ground. So by having trees and native plants and other types of things that will absorb all that water, it stops a lot of the flooding. Our street has, I'm not sure how many, probably more than maybe 100 houses, 75 houses. There may be 20 houses that have trees on the tree lawns. People don't want the leaves. Leaves will make a lot of difference. One, they absorb the water and stop some of the flooding. Secondly, the leaves absorb some of the pollutants in the air and keeps the air purer. Thirdly, it provides cooler weather in the summer. Having trees, as most of the suburbs further on west do, does make the atmosphere a lot better in the cities. Mayfield Heights doesn't do that. There are a lot of native trees and plants that plant them, they stay forever. They also have the benefit for climate change, to keep climate down, to the hot weather down, and also provides food for pollinators like bees and butterflies and birds. And this year, as you probably know, the butterfly population, especially monarchs, are way decreased. The bee population is decreased, and that's going to affect our food. Because if you don't have the pollinators, you're not going to have the food. And there are currently things that you just can't get anymore. Grass is too shallow. The roots are too shallow in order to absorb all this water. I did not know this was going to be on your agenda tonight, by the way. This would as I said, I'm 83 years old. I don't have grandchildren. My children don't live here. I'm not going to be affected by this anymore, but I've done some of the affecting just by being here of these generations. And so people with children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, those are the ones who are going to be affected by this more than I will or people sitting at this table today, because we're not going to be around as long as the people who are going to be facing serious problems in the future. We had, in our yard, we had a couple of iris gardens near the front sidewalk that had been there for 20 years. They were given to me by a friend in Cuyahoga Falls who's since deceased. We had to rip them out. We also have a rain garden, which we've had planted by the Mayfield schools for more than 10 years. We've had to rip a lot of that out, and we're going to have to rip out more of that to get to those limits. Otherwise, we get fined nicely. The city was going to come out and just rip up a bunch of stuff. And we were out in the rain this weekend, digging and pulling and covering things up, trying to kill the weeds. So, you were talking about the problems people have with flooding. The sewers will help some of it, but not all of it. For a side issue, we happen to be at a program recently that provides information for people about doing pollinator gardens, natural native gardens, native plants, and things to do to stop a lot of the flooding in your yard. Plant things instead of putting out pots, which are lovely. Plant things like daisies and other things, native things, that are going to absorb the water and don't need all the maintenance. They'll be there year-round. And also, I was thinking possibly have a community meeting at the community center. There's a lot of room for people who are having problems with flooding to get together, have speakers from places, and there are a lot of them available, to come up with suggestions for what they could do in their own yards to help the flooding in their own yards, which will also help the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amstel. Thank you. All right. Now I would like to call up Deborah Kramer.
Hi, I decided to come back tonight. Oh, Deborah Kramer, 1110 Belrose Road. I decided to come back tonight because I've been away for a year. In 2020, I had proposed solar panels on my roof, and I wanted to generate my own electricity also to charge my car. And I was denied the panels on anything visible from the street. And I thought, oh, that would just be a issue that we just need to look at because there was no ordinance in the city. I thought a couple phone calls or whatever, letters would do something about it, and they didn't. And my contractor offered to consult with the city because he's consulted with many communities, and that didn't get me anywhere. And finally, in the fall of 2022, I decided to start coming to council meetings, and from the 22-23 year, I came to almost every single council meeting. I should have had a seat up there. And every single time I addressed a different issue with the solar panels, hoping that the city would decide to create an ordinance about appropriate solar panels that are not an eyesore, but they're effective and functional. We got a meeting, but that's about all the farther I got. So at the end of the 22-23 year, I sort of gave up again, got tired of coming up here, figured, I'll wait till the election, see what happens. And I stayed away for all of last year. That's why I decided it was time to come back. I'm hoping that in the entire year that I haven't been here bothering you about solar panels, that possibly this council may have reflected on the situation and the current climate situation that has even changed in the last few years. And I'm wondering if there's any willingness at this time to create an ordinance addressing solar panels and allowing their use even if those panels are visible from the street. It seemed to boil down to an issue of curb appeal versus climate change. And in my humble opinion, climate change is much more important than curb appeal because I can put very nice looking solar panels on my roof. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer. Okay. Naomi Patterson.
Naomi Patterson, 5918 Mayflower Avenue. I have lived in Mayfield Heights since 1961. In all of that time, I have had so many floods in my basement, I have lost track. But I have had at least 10 major floods where I have had to have my basement completely gutted and redone. How long of a period of time does this tax relief cover that you're talking about?
So we can't do a question and answer here at this point, but we can provide that for you after the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
because that is important, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has that
Definitely.
question. Thank
We
you.
can do it when it comes
We'll do it
before
after the
us.
meeting.
Yeah, we'll do it before the meeting. We'll talk about it. Thank you. Ms. Janet Harris?
Janet Harris, 5923 Marnell Avenue, also known as the flood zone. Mine are actually questions that do require answers, so if I can't do that, I'm just going to throw the questions out there and you can take notes. My questions came from what you all were saying as the meeting started. So a lot of it is a timeline. When are you talking about doing the dye testing? When are you talking about GPD, is that did I say it right? GPD planning, and how long will that take? When are you looking to get the bids in? When will the project be starting? I'd like to know an exact timeline of some kind. We're starting it next meeting, we're moving forward for bids, just a timeline of something to hold somebody accountable for, besides myself cleaning my basement. And then my question to Mr. Balistreo was, when you said a substantial amount of damage, what constitutes substantial? Is there a money number? Is there a how many times do I have to drag things to the curb number? What is a number for substantial?
Okay. So we'll,
Never said.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Can I just answer that real quickly?
Go ahead.
You read it on the form. It just says, it doesn't say an amount. It just says substantial damage or amount of damage. So whatever your estimate is.
Okay, okay. Another question was, why didn't the committee meet as the president requested? Was there a why? Yes, there was a why? No? Okay.
There's a reason.
It's secret? What'd you say?
There's a reason, no.
Oh, Okay, it's secret. Okay, that was it. Those were all my questions. I was taking notes while you were talking, and I just wanted to know answers, which I'm not getting.
I'm writing all these down so that when it comes before us tonight, we'll ask GPD those questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I have them written down too, so we'll
Thank
team
you.
up. Thanks.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Is there anyone else this evening that would like to be heard? Mr. Singh?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. So I moved into this city in summer of 2003.
Mr. Singh, you need to state your name and address for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry. So my name is Singh, and I'm on 1583 Chelmsford Road. So I moved into this city in summer of 2003. And when it came to buying our first house, my daughter decided it was going to be Mayfield Heights. And I asked her why. She said, beautiful city, beautiful people, it's about 1 minute away from the highway. So June last year, we bought our house, our dream house. It was so beautiful. And then 1 month later, this is what happened to my basement toilet. July. So then I called the contractor, and this is what he found. You see, these clay pipes were laid in the 50s and 60s. They're clogged up, they're broken up. And then I realized that the soil is clay, waterlogged. So I fixed it. I spent about $20,000 fixing it, and I thought my horror story was stopped. So what happened in last year, August? It always happens in August, if you realize that. So I fixed it one side, and next side, it clogged up. Again, August this side, I landed, I was flying international, I came back, I landed at the airport, and somebody recognized me. I'm the best looking guy in the city. At the airport, 1 a.m. And he told me, hey, there's flooding in Mayfield Heights. 1 a.m. Guess what that I did when I reached home? Went to the basement, true enough. So the water is locked. And I'm surprised that no one has done anything for so long. It's clay soil. It's waterlogged. And then I start looking, are there drains for storm drains? I don't even know whether we have storm drains, because I don't see any storm ponds. So one, you have to clear the soil. It's waterlogged, it's clay. So I don't know how many of you have served in the armed forces. Anyone served in the armed forces? No one has served the country? So one of the things, when I was doing something, when you move people from point A to point B, you wanted to know the soil from point A to point B. If not, your vehicles will get clogged. Okay? So long. So these are the pictures. This is a tragedy. And August, I don't know why it happens August. Everybody knows it happens in August. I don't know how many of you are Chinese. In Chinese culture, August is the hungry ghost month. Maybe there's some connection. I do not know. So you stop one side, it comes out on the other side. And then I was looking at your resolutions today, and I downloaded this agenda during lunchtime, and I looked GPD group. So I do not know whether the city council has done the due diligence, and they have run into problems in other cities. University Heights. They retired, so we are hiring a retired company to do our engineering work. In Beechwood, they ignored the law. GPD group. So I do not know, when I was a councilman in a different municipality, the first thing I did, I fired the engineer. So nothing is going to change because many of them are going to term limit at the end of next year. So if you're going to have more flooding, that is the reality. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard this evening? The gentleman in the back, was there a question? You had raised your hand earlier. Forget it? Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to close the public portion. It is 7:38. It has been requested that at this time, I would like to move ordinance 2024-17 to this part of the agenda. I need a motion from council.
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and
Yes.
second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to move this to this part of the agenda.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn. Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance number 2024-17, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2024-17, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Current Lighting LLC pertaining to the Job Retention and Creation Grant Program and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria,
Second.
second by Mr. Minor. This ordinance would authorize the city to provide a new company that is relocating to our corporate park, a job retention creation grant which would be valued at $121,500. The estimated value of this grant is based on the company's annual payroll identified in the grant application. The company has signed a 5-year lease and is relocating approximately 75 full-time employees. At this time, I would like to call Mr. Rowan up to go over this ordinance.
Thank you, and I appreciate you taking this ordinance out of order. We do have a representative from the companies here tonight, so trying to be respectful of his time. So this legislation is for a job retention and creation grant for Current Lighting. Current Lighting, the company, started many years ago in East Cleveland and Neela Park as GE Lighting, and has evolved over time to Current Lighting today, which is a leading force in LED lighting and controls, the control market. Its primary locations, office locations, are here in Cleveland and Beechwood, and then also in Greenville, South Carolina. So the company is relocating its corporate offices from the city of Beechwood to approximately 30,000 square feet at 6085 Parkland Boulevard, which is the East Point 1 building. So they'll be taking the whole third floor. They'll be spending $750,000 on the lease space, renovating some of the office space, but then also constructing a small engineering and testing area for part of their functions. They are signing a 5-year lease and relocating 75 full-time employees with a payroll of $10.8 million. So that equates to $162,000 a year in payroll withholdings to the city. So in support of Current Lighting's relocation and job 5-year lease, I recommend the city provide the company with a job retention and creation grant with a value of $121,500, which is the total of the 3-year grant period. So that estimate is based on the $10.8 million payroll and the grant terms that are outlined in the ordinance for the job creation and retention grant. So that's 3 years and a 25% award rate. The first year that the grant will be in effect would be 2025, with the first payment due in 2026. So we do have a representative from the companies here who would like to say a few words to council. So at this time, I'd like to call him up, and then we can answer any questions you may have, either one of us.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Dave, would you like to come up?
Hi, good evening, Madam President. Good evening, Council.
Can you
My
state your
is-
name and address, please?
Yes, my name is David Downland. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. I am the Vice President of Strategic Programs, Real Estate, and Certified Labs for Current Lighting. And while we're saddened to be leaving Beechwood, we're very excited to be coming here to Mayfield Heights and starting the next chapter in our headquarters here in the Cleveland area. As we're moving into Mayfield Heights, I would like to give recognition and thanks to Jeremy, Braden, and Monica. They've been very instrumental in helping us understand and get our feet under us as we're starting to do renovations to the building, making sure we're following proper policy procedures and helping us move through the process as we're going. We're excited. We are the number 3 lighting manufacturing company. We're growing, and we're hoping that some of that growth is going to be right here at Mayfield Heights. As we move in here, we've acquired space that allows for that growth, and we've built better and more functional engineering areas because we do some of our design proof of concept and innovation here in Cleveland with a lot of our lighting products and specifically with our control solutions. So if there are any questions that the council has, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions? Ms. Talbot?
First, welcome to Mayfield Heights. Thank you for selecting us. The question I have, I know you have 75 current employees, correct? I'm curious to know what your projections are to grow. Do you anticipate hiring any people next year or the following 3 years?
So we do expect to be hiring over the next 3 years. One of the way we do our hiring when we have a position open, we will allow that to be either out of our Greenville or out of our Cleveland location. So we're looking for the best qualities, the best talent. And in the past several months, we've hired several key finance and accounting positions out of this office that we brought in at the Beechwood location while we were there. And we continue to do the same as we move forward.
Thank you. Anything else? Mr. Balestrea?
Thank you, Madam Chair. David, welcome to the city as well.
Thank you.
I think you made a wise choice. As far, maybe I missed it when Jeremy was speaking. What was going to be the tax realization to the city in the first year with the? Do you have an idea of what that would be?
I believe you said it was going to be about 162,000.
Did I hear that right? 162?
Yeah, it's 162,000 based on the 10.8
His income?
million payroll. So if it stays at that for the full 5 years, I think it's a little over $800,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, if passed, we welcome you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance 2024-17 has been approved. Thank you. We're going to go back to resolutions, beginning with resolution number 2024-40. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-40, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into Amendment Number 1 to the development agreement with First Mayland Properties Limited regarding the schedule of grants and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Balestrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin. Mrs. Sabetta.
Abstain?
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Minor. Over the summer, council was pulled by Mr. Murphy to amend and approve a change to their development agreement. All members of council voted for the amendment. This resolution is a formal approval for the request. Mr. Murphy, is there anything else you would like to add?
Unless there are questions, no, I have nothing else to add. You've done a good job of explaining it.
Thank you. I did have a question. Ms. Sabetta, did you abstain over the summer? for this
Yes.
as well? Okay. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Abstain?
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. Moving to resolution number 2024-41.
Madam Chair. I just want to make a comment about this. At that particular time, there was one deliverable that Mainland Properties was supposed to produce, and that was drawings for utility. We have not, I checked with Mr. Sin, we have not gotten those yet, so I don't know who needs to make sure that we get those, because we approved without having them.
Is that the as-built you're talking about?
It's a drawing that shows where all the utilities were put in.
Okay, I think we have that, but I'll double-check it.
Okay. I'm
No,
gonna note as
no, we do not.
Okay. You good with that? Anything further? Okay. Resolution 2024-41, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-41, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Hall Public Safety Upfitters for the purchase of equipment to outfit new police vehicles with lights, radios, and other necessary equipment for use by the Mayfield Heights Police Department and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mr. Mano. The police chief has recommended that we go with Hall Public Safety to outfit the vehicles with lights, radios, and other necessary police equipment. The total price is not to exceed $65,966. Are there any questions from council? Ms. Tobin.
I have one. I noticed that one of the invoice, although it says it's new, it's for 2023. I don't know if that's an error or whether it's not a new vehicle. It was the Chevy Silverado. It says it's a 1993. The other one said 2024. Or I should say
Chief,
20
could you come up?
2023. Lost 100 years.
19
So we ordered the cars the year before. We actually haven't received the 2024s yet. We received one of the three vehicles. So we get the pricing in '23, and the vehicles are '24s, so it probably has the original date that we got the original price.
Okay, because it said it was a 2023 car,
No,
so I
no.
just wanted to make sure.
No, they're new cars.
Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been adopted. Resolution number 2024-42, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-42, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services during design and construction, administration, and observation for the Drayton Drive emergency pavement repair and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Ms. Tobin. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by
Second.
Mr. Minor. This resolution is to provide additional engineering services, including design and construction administration from GPD for the Drayton Drive emergency payment repair for an amount not to exceed $8,410. The fee includes all direct reimbursable expenses that may be incurred by GPD. This emergency was due to a water main break on Drayton Road this summer. Are there any questions for Mr. Chuney? He's here this evening. Or anyone, Public Works? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has now been approved. We will now move to Resolution 2024-43. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-43, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DPD, GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services to deal with the flooding event on August 17, 2024, and declaring an emergency. First reading. I skipped one, I'm sorry. 2024-43, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services regarding the stormwater flooding on Elmwood Road and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and
Second.
second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. This is for professional engineering services regarding the flooding on Elmwood Road. The fee is not to exceed $5,000. All members should have received the breakdown of this particular resolution in their packets. Are there any questions from council this evening? Mr. Balestria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for the engineer. Mr. Chuney, could you just tell the council, in your report, you talked about confirming there are no hydraulic issues, and I don't know what that involves. Or Nick, anybody?
Yeah, so the county was called out at the latest.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Nick Feeney, GPD Group, city engineer. In the recent flooding event in July, the county was called out. They videotaped the sewers. They found that the storm sewer was in good condition. When they jetted and put the camera in the sanitary, it was holding water, so it was hard to see the condition of the pipe, so we asked them to go back out and clean it, when we're present on site so we can observe it. The hydraulic issue is if there's bellies in the line and that water doesn't get out in an efficient manner. That's what we're going to be looking for.
So there's swales in the pipe? Is
There
that
could
what
be dips in the bottom of the pipe where the water doesn't flow efficiently, correct?
Okay. So that's what you're confirming?
Yes.
Or denying? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Balestria, I just want to add, we plan to fix it. And the county, we have a contract with the county to do this, but we have to analyze it first and give them the direction on how to fix it. We know there's an issue there. Okay.
Oh, there is? Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Any further questions from council? All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been adopted. We will now move to resolution number 2024-44.
Again.
Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-44, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services to deal with the flooding event on August 17, 2024, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
I'm going to ask a council if someone could make a motion to place this on first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Telvin and second by Mr. Mano.
It's on first.
It's on first reading. Next, we'll move to resolution number 2024-45. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-45, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss Pile, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services, including plan reviews for the Mayfield Road Signals Project, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestreo,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. This resolution is is for the professional services from GPD Group for an up-to-date summary as well as an estimate of work required to get the final approval state with ODOT. The project will consist of upgrades of the existing traffic signals along Mayfield Road. The project will be scheduled to start July 25th with the completion of July 2026. The total cost for the GPD's portion of the construction and engineering cost is not to exceed $9,500. The services will be invoiced monthly based on the number of hours worked. Does any member of council have any questions? Ms. Telbin?
I don't know, we also have a project around the cameras for police going in. I don't know if there's any coordination or if these are connected in any way.
Mayor?
Because I know we had to get,
They're not-
electricians up to do that, and so I
They're-
don't know if there's any.
They're not connected, no.
They're not connected, okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has now been carried through. Resolution number 2024-46, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-46, a resolution requesting the county fiscal officer to advance real property taxes from the proceeds of tax levies pursuant to Section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Minor and second by Mr. Balestrea. This will authorize the city to participate in the county's tax advance program, which allows the county to send property tax monies received for the city's monthly rather than only twice per year. This legislation is also passed annually. Are there any questions for Ms. Scully this evening from council? We're good? All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This has now been adopted. We will move to resolution number 2024-47.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-47, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second
Second.
by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea and second by Mr. Minor. This pertains to the process in which the council approves the tax budget and then it is sent to the county. The county utilizes the tax budgets to determine the city's property tax rate. This resolution confirms the tax rates from the county. This is what Ms. Scully was talking about in her report this evening. Thank you. Any further questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. 2024-47 has been approved. This time I need a motion to add resolution number 2024-48 to the agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestria,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to add resolution number 2024-48 to the agenda.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2024-48, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-48, a resolution awarding a direct contract without competitive bidding to the CA Agresta Company for the Drayton Road Emergency Repair Project and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second?
and second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mr. Balestria. All members of council should have received the award letter at your places this evening. GPD has recommended that the city go with the lowest bidder, which is CA Agresta, in the amount of $63,676. There were 5 other companies that submitted bids for the Drayton Road project, and they would like us to go with CA Agresta. Any questions from council? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This has now been approved. Now I need a motion to add resolution number 2024-49 to tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to add resolution number 2024-49.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Okay. Resolution number 2024-49, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-49, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services, including design and surveying, in connection with improvements to the Marnell Road sewers, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Talbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Minor.
Yeah. I was reading, sorry.
A committee of the whole meeting was held on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, to discuss sewer and water issues within the city with the residents. GPD Group proposed by letter on September 6th to provide additional services consisting of professional engineering services, including design and surveying services in connection with improvements to the Marnell Road sewers in the city for a fee not to exceed $301,000. Mr. Cheney, is there anything you would like to add? But at this time, I would also like you to come up and answer the questions that Mrs. Harris had during her public portion. And I have those I can ask you, if you don't remember all
Okay.
of them.
Go ahead and ask them one at a time.
Okay. When will the dye testing begin? She's not here. I don't know if someone wants to get her, Okay, you'll relay back.
It's recorded.
Okay. When will the dye testing begin?
Well, the dye testing is the next ordinance I believe you're going to pass, but I can answer that. We, obviously, if we get it authorized tonight, we can begin tomorrow. And the intent is to do all the dye testing in the next 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months. So we have 107 homes to re-dye test with a more detailed test. As I explained during the town hall meeting, we had it was just a screening, the original test, and we know there's cross communication. There's water coming from the storm into the sanitary in the street somewhere. We have to put a camera in the lateral all the way to the house and see where that's coming from. Again, there's a line of demarcation, which is the back of the sidewalk. From the back of the sidewalk to the center of the street is public property. From the back of the sidewalk to the front of the house is private property. So where is that cross communication coming from? That's what this test is for. And the intent would be to complete all of this in the next 2 to 3 months, which can be done and will be done. And then we will add, if there's anything on the public side, we will add it to the Marnell job. And we will come back to council, obviously, and tell you what that is. We don't know if there are any. It might be all on private side, it might be all on the public side. We don't know that, right? Of those 107 homes, because we're in the Marnell area anyway, we'll add that to the set of plans that, for the Marnell sewer project. So that's the goal there. Okay. And I think the next question was, how long will the Marnell design take? And I'm estimating that we should be able to go out for bids hopefully in May of next year. It's going to take time to survey. We're going to have to do geotechnical and test the soils. Then we have to do our design. We also have to get a permit from the EPA. And that usually takes a good month, sometimes 2 months, and we'll push from our end to get that done immediately. But we have to, because we're putting in new sewers, we have to get a permit from the EPA. And that doesn't happen overnight. So our goal would be to, hopefully be out for advertising for bid. If we can do it sooner, we will. Again, we have to get permits. We have to get the other utilities involved, because we are going to be moving sewers. They're above each other, storm on top, sanitary below, big sewer on top of a little one. We're going to separate them. Some of the other utilities might be involved as far as the gas company. We don't know that yet, to be honest with you, but I'm sure something is going to be in conflict, and we're going to have to design that properly, and then also get them involved in that. So I would hope, in May of next year, we'll be out for bids. We'd be back in front of council for an award, and next summer we could start the project. We are recommending, and we said this in our letter as well, as we should look at the water line at this time. And if we have to replace the water line, I got to get clean water approval. That's another approval. I have to get another permit. So again, that takes time. They have to review our plans. So that's probably the quickest we can start, or we can get it done. But we will start immediately if we're authorized tonight.
And then will letters go out to the 107 houses that tested positive to get their approval?
Yes, we have to get permission to get back on the property. We again will put colored dye water in either the downspout or in the gutter. If it's a one-story home, usually they could go up on top without having to put it in the gutter on the bottom. And then we'll have the camera in their lateral, and we'll watch it and see where it comes out, where the cross connection is. We know there's cross connection somewhere. We just have to figure where that's at. The camera will come from the street. That'll be working from the street back toward the house. But we have to get on the property to actually put water and dye in the storm sewer somewhere.
Okay. And I'm just requesting that maybe you can give us a monthly update since over the next few months over what's taking place and what's gone on. And
I am here at every council meeting. I could do it every couple of weeks. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
No issues.
And then there was another question, do we have storm drains? Somebody asked that, I believe. Was something about storm drains? A resident?
It sounded like he had a lot of issues on his property that needed to be taken care of. I do too on my house. You know, I mean, if your pipes break around the foundation and you have clay soil, you have to go in there and fix them every once in a while. And I know I've done it at my house, and everybody has to do it that owns a home. You know, you have to take care of your infrastructure. Are there storm drains? There's storm sewers in every city, or every street in the city. And every house in the city has a connection to that storm drain. They do have an outlet, right? You have to get the water to it. No. If your backyards have an issue and you want to add a drain to your backyard, you can always do that and then bring it to the street. We have storm sewers. So.
Okay.
We don't have roadside ditches anymore. We're not rural. You know, we have a storm sewer on every street.
Okay. And Ms. Harris, you were out in the hall. He said they could start as soon as tomorrow. Okay. All right. And then we.
Your question was about when do those letters go out to the 107 homes?
Oh,
We have a sub-consultant. We don't do dye testing, GPD as a company, and I will authorize them tomorrow, and then I can get you a timetable for that. I mean, when they're actually going to start. I actually called them last week, and I said, get ready. I think we're going to get it authorized on September 9th. I want to know when you can start and when you're going to get going. At that point, first the letters will go out, and then everybody will know. I don't have that information right now, but I'll get it to you as soon as I can.
perfect. All right. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Mr. Cheney? Mr. Balestrea?
Just so the public knows, and maybe council, Joe, just could you go over the rerouting of the sewer? Because if you remember, we talked about that sewer actually was going across private property. The flow of the water was going across Hawthorne backyards into the Longwood area and then up to Radnor.
Correct.
And you want to reroute that down Hawthorne and then over to Radnor with this design, correct?
Right now, the sanitary sewer on Marnell starts at Lander, and it goes all the way up to Hawthorne, and for some reason goes north on Hawthorne about 200 feet, and then it goes across the backyards over to Longwood. And that's the way it's been for years and years and years. In our design, we're going to take that straight down to Longwood. We're not going to make that turn anymore, and then we'll make the turn at Longwood, and then it goes to Radnor, and then it goes to Temple. Temple is where we have been told by the Northeastern Ohio Regional Sewer District you have extra capacity. We're going to verify that, with our design, and that's where we're going to take the water to.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Oh, we can't have public. They can ask after the meeting. They can ask them. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution 2024-50 has been approved. I'm sorry. 49 has been approved. Now I need a motion to add resolution number 2024-50 to the agenda.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Minor and second by Mr. Balestrea. Roll call on the motion to add resolution 2024-50 to the agenda.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes.
Ms. Talbin?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution number 2024-50, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-50, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss, Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide additional professional engineering services consisting of detailed dye testing of residential properties in the Marnell, Ascot areas of the city, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Ms. Tobin?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. The GPD Group also proposed a letter dated September 6, 2024, to provide additional professional services consisting of detailed dye testing of residential properties in the Marnell, Ascot areas of the city for a fee not to exceed $165,500. We just heard from Mr. Cheney. We had answered the questions from the residents. is there anything further our council would like to add? Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has now been adopted. Okay. We will now go to ordinances, beginning with ordinance number 2024-15. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to authorize the sale of one Service Department vehicle through GovDeals. It's a 2003 Sterling L8500 dump salt truck. Vehicle identification number 2FZAAWAK83.
Joe, you're on motion.
Oh, we
You're
skipped,
on
I'm
motion.
sorry, I skipped one. Okay, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 2024-18, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Mayfield Heights to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Ohio,
No. Ordinance 2024-15.
oh, they're on, okay, that's right, you added that. Ordinance 2024-15, an ordinance amending Chapter 1155 of the Codified Ordinance of the City entitled Board of Zoning Appeals by amending Section 1155.02 pertaining to composition of the Board of Zoning Appeals. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second?
second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Balestria. The ordinance is to amend the current ordinance pertaining to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission, changing Section 1155.02B by adding the words, "The vice chairperson shall always be the member of council appointed by the mayor." Any questions from council? All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this ordinance has been adopted. Ordinance number 2024-16, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2024-16, an ordinance amending Section 1383.04 of the Codified Ordinances of the City titled Notice of Violation Relating to Nuisances and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano
Second?
and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta,
Second.
second by Ms. Telvin. This is an amendment to the ordinance changing Section 1383.04 by adding and striking verbiage that would help clarify this ordinance. Mr. Murphy sent out a memo changing this ordinance due to the fact that it was too strict on cases where property owners were alleged to be incompetent and where there has been no appointment of a guardian of the property for the owner. In other words, there has been no guardian for the estate. Mr. Murphy, is there anything else you would like to add?
Only that this specifically pertains to the property on Lander where the property owner has been declared to be incompetent and a guardian has been appointed for the person but not for the estate. So the city really can't do anything to abate the nuisance on the property. So this would liberalize the codified ordinances to provide that if somebody has a guardian and has been judged to be incompetent, then the city can take steps through probate court to obtain control of the property to abate the nuisance.
Okay. Anything council would like to add or any questions? Okay, thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance number 2024-16 has been approved. We will now move to ordinance number 2024-18. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
19. Oh, 18. That's 18. 17.
Ordinance number 2024-18. Don't confuse me. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Mayfield Heights to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, communications officers, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Belstrade and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin. Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta. Second by Mr. Mano. This ordinance is an agreement for the Communications Officers Unit for the City of Mayfield Heights. Is there anything anybody wanted to add to this? Everybody received the packet? Okay. Questions?
I didn't hear what she asked.
She didn't ask anything.
Okay.
Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This ordinance has now been approved. We will move to motions, beginning with motion A.
I read it once, can I? No. Motion to authorize the sale of one service department vehicle through Gov Deals. The vehicle is a 2003 Sterling L8500 dump salt truck, vehicle identification number 2FZAAWAK83AL68359.
Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Minor
Second.
and second by Ms. Talbot. This is a request to sell a no longer needed vehicle to make room for the new equipment and salt truck in the service department. Any questions or comments from council? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been approved. What's the reason? Okay, all right. Is there any new business or comments from council? Okay, the only comment I want to make is that Mrs. Amsel this evening asked about having a meeting. I will contact Euclid Creek Watershed and Chagrin River Watershed to see if they want to put a program together at our community center, going over some of the things that you would like to see there. Okay. Right. Good job. Anything else? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Balestria. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.